My name is Joe Zekas. I'm with NewHomeNotebook.com. I'm sitting here with Lloyd Gussis, who's an attorney who concentrates his practice in real estate. And I remember Lloyd going back about 30 years when he used to be on the other side of the table tangling with me, and he was a bright, aggressive, knowledgeable attorney at that time, and that's why I've come back to see Lloyd after 25 year or so absence. We want to talk to new construction home buyers in Chicago and maybe provide some information. How do I go about picking an attorney? There's a zillion of you out there.
Probably the best is by word of mouth. Friends who have used a lawyer in the past and have hopefully been happy with them. Realtors come into contact with obviously a lot of lawyers, and they can serve as people who can recommend. I get a lot.
Aren't realtors going to just give me somebody who's not a deal breaker?
Some may, but hopefully there are realtors who work with lawyers who consider them not only knowledgeable and protecting of their client, but also with the concern of let's try and keep the deal together.
I used to recommend, back when I was a developer, I used to recommend you to some of my buyers for the following reason. I knew you were going to come in and give me a hard time, but I knew that you knew what you were doing. And my biggest concern as a developer was having an attorney who just didn't have a grip on it.
I agree. Side. You know, what you find now is when a contract comes in, almost the first thing I'm looking at is who's the lawyer on the other side. Not because of anything other than, is it somebody you can work with, even though you may not agree. At least you can deal with them without the mentality of no, I'm not doing anything, take it or leave it.
Well, even beyond that, it's a question of competence for a lot of attorneys, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and experience. I mean, you get a lot of people who simply are going to give you a 6-page document because they're not sure, so they encompass it with everything rather than just cutting down to the nuts and bolts and getting to what's important. If
I'm new to town, I don't know anybody, how does that affect how I might look for an attorney?
Again, I think if you're new in town, you're going to rely a lot on your realtor.
Okay.
Or if you have some friends here who have gone through the process, they may have a recommendation. There are people who come in and call the Bar Association for referrals.
Is that a good idea?
Certainly, because obviously the bar associations have real estate sections with members and experienced lawyers, and they're helpful.
I have one kind of reverse rule of thumb I use. It's unethical for an attorney to hold himself out as a specialist in any particular area, so anyone who does, don't hire them.
On the other hand, there are lawyers like myself in small firms
who, as I mentioned, concentrate their practice.
Exactly. So if you came to me for a divorce, I would tell you that very nicely, that I don't do them, and refer you to someone, if you wanted to, who I know who did. Therefore, while I don't hold myself out to be a specialist, it's what I do for a living.
Right. And let's go on from there. What I used to see is that too many people get their attorney at the point at which they've signed a contract. And now they've got 3 days on an attorney approval rider, and they're scrambling to find an attorney. If I were buying new construction, at what point should I be looking for an attorney?
I actually disagree with you on new construction, because typically with new construction, the 3 days, by the way, Joe, has now become 5 and 7.
5 to 7.
And
okay.
Lawyers are pretty attuned to the fact that sometimes the lawyer doesn't get the contract till the 4th day out of 5, so they're willing to give you an extension, especially with new construction, because it's not going to the deal's not going to close in a month or two, perhaps a year and a half, 2 years out. So depending on the market, of course, in today's market, they'll give you as much time as you want. 3 years ago, it may have been a lot shorter, but the thought of that is, people don't like to spend money until they know what they've got. So I do have lawyers.
It's okay for me to sign a contract first, then?
As long as there is language in the contract that provides for either attorney approval or for attorney modification after the contract is signed, yes.
Okay. I have no advantage on preparation and,
Typically, with new construction, the things that are negotiated early on are the price, which I typically don't get into, all of the furnishings within the apartment, within the unit, or within the house, the detailing of it, what kind of cabinets, what kind of flooring, what kind of appliances. And those are things that are frankly best handled by realtors. Once there's an agreement on the price and an agreement on the rest of the terms, then typically the client will call, or prospective client will call and say, I've got a contract, I've got so many days under lawyer's approval, will you represent me? And we go from there.
what can you do for someone at that point?
It depends. Basically, the courts have said that the buyer shouldn't be penalized because he didn't have a lawyer early on, so they give the lawyer pretty much carte blanche in terms of dealing with what's in the contract other than price, broker's compensation, and dates. And with dates, with new construction, all's fair, which I will talk to you about because I think dates are really critical. But typically, you've got pretty much carte blanche.